life is like a great escape act. And you are audience, promoter, escapist, assistant, and all. So let's use Houdini as an example. I don't know Houdini well, but I think he's the most famous of all the escapists, the most recognizable name. And in these exhilarating performances, he puts himself into a situation where it seems that there's no chance of escape, no way out. And we're on the edge of our seats, watching, wondering, will he make it out? And invariably, every time he makes it out, seemingly just in the nick of time. This, as I understand it, is very similar to the trick that we're up to in this lifetime, to the game that the human experience involves. You see, we are that performer, that escapist, in the seemingly impossible scenario, working to free ourselves from these shackles, these burdens, these prisons. But the important thing to remember is that just like Houdini, we are the ones who invented the trap in the first place. Nobody else put us in the straitjacket. Nobody else locked us underwater in the cage. Nobody else put the handcuffs on us or the big locks or the chains. We actually were the one who did that before we were conscious of it, so that we could have the fun of freeing ourselves, of liberating ourselves from these shackles. And just like how it wouldn't really be fun for Houdini to try to escape if somebody else were truly trying to imprison him, I believe that the handcuffs, the shackles that we wear as humans, they don't come from outside of us, because that would actually not be a very enjoyable, it would not be a peaceful game to play. It would cease to be a game if we truly were locked up, if we truly were limited by some external power. It wouldn't be a game, it would be a race for our lives. But I choose not to see it this way. I don't think that the experience of life is a challenge that we're trying to win against some external adversary. I think that the game of life is something that we dreamt up for ourselves because it's fun, because it's exhilarating, because it's interesting, because eventually utopia gets boring. And so our souls want to challenge because we want to learn things. And we want to do it in a safe arena where we don't risk betting the farm, so to speak, where we don't put ourselves at risk of total annihilation, but where we can experience what it feels like to be at risk of total annihilation, but actually be safe at all times. Sometimes I meditate on death and try to remind myself that it is safe to die. I don't want to die. There's so much left in my life that I want to do. And if I am afraid of death, if I am worried about death, if I am running away from death, then I'm allowing it to control me. But instead, if I am excited by life, and if I accept that one day I'm going to die, hopefully many, many years from now, but it's going to happen. I can't outrun it. I can't defeat it. So I think it makes more sense to make peace with it. I think it makes more sense to view it as a friend rather than a foe, to view it as a natural part of the unfolding process, to view it as a natural cleaning of the slate so that I can start over again in the next lifetime. And hopefully in this lifetime, I've made progress on whatever my soul's curriculum is, on whatever the intended focus areas and purpose for this lifetime are. And I get to start again in the next lifetime. Hopefully wiser. Perhaps it will be easier, perhaps not. But again, back to life as the great escape. It's not an escape from something negative. It's an escape from illusions that we create for ourselves for the purpose of entertainment. In the same way that the escapist, like Houdini, puts on a show so that we can all experience the relief, the exhilaration, the awe, the excitement, the fun, the laughter that comes from finally seeing the great magician free again. I think that's what life is all about. We love to watch the escape, so we create situations where we can. What does this look like on a practical level? Well, it looks like programming ourselves, conditioning ourselves with self-defeating beliefs. It looks like identifying with suffering. It looks like identifying with problems and challenging circumstances. It looks like conflict. It looks like challenge. It looks like pain, where we have the choice whether we suffer or not. It looks like all of these things, because without these things, we don't get to experience liberation. If we were born into complete and total bliss, if we were born into complete and total freedom, there would be no contrast in life. This isn't wrong. I think it's just a core aspect of the human experience as opposed to any other experience that we might have. As opposed to any other game that the soul might play, the human experience is one of experiencing limitation so that we can transcend it and experience liberation. The human experience is one of experiencing lack so that we can transcend that and experience abundance. The contrast between those two is what makes it so enlivening, is what makes it so juicy, is what makes it so exciting, what makes it worth pushing through the difficult moments. That contrast. We love contrast. Humans, we love contrast. There's the simple before and after picture. We are gluttons for the before and after picture, regardless of what the before and after are. That change is what we love to see. That contrast that comes about as a result of change. I think that's certainly in my life, and I think in many people's lives. That's sort of the essence of it all, deep down in our bellies. We want to be agents for change, because that's the nature of life. Life is emerging, birthing, life is growing, life is maturing, life is dying and decaying, and then starting all over again. If it all stayed the same, if we lived forever in eternal bliss, in a perfect situation, in a perfect life, where nothing ever changed, well, I think that's actually a definition of death, not the definition of life. It doesn't matter that it's perfect. It doesn't matter that it's blissful. There's nothing alive without change, without transformation. So if you are in a place where you feel limited, where you're feeling lack, where you're feeling constricted, where you're feeling frustrated because life's problems or challenges or dilemmas don't seem to be going away, where you're feeling angry at perhaps the lot that you have right now, where you're feeling sad or hopeless or despairing, remember that all of this is part of the Great Escape Act. And there will come a day where you start to, perhaps with your little pinky or your little finger, break free from these illusions, these self-imposed limitations. And as you start to free yourself more and more, you'll start to experience more and more aliveness and energy. And you'll start to laugh, seeing the whole thing for what it really was. A great magic trick, a great escape. I love you so much. I want such good things for you. And as always, it's good to be with you. Until next time.